take all precautionary measures, you know, make sure wherever you are is well ventilated.
You know, to safeguard our health.
Indeed. And if, you know, whatever outfit you will be putting on, that is also important just to stay safe, you know, during this period. Yes, I will be taking you through the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And on the front page, we have a very sad story that happened in Ibadan yesterday. Police confirmed 2 dead as trucks brake fails in Ibadan, crushes tricycles. Our heart really goes out to those people, victims involved in this tragic incident yesterday. And on page 2, parties want indirect primaries restored. Insist on amendment on Electoral Act as INEC's updated guidelines review party registration, merger to registration, campaign exercises. And that story is on page 2 and on page 4. Obi ought not to contest in 2023 presidential election, Justice Salami. 2027, or your PDP candidates to emerge April 8th. And that's according to the state governor, Makinde. Automatic tickets given to 7 reps, first-term assembly members. Governor says, we won't leave PDP. Only 51 candidates for 2027 polls. Final decision on platform to be made April 15 as stakeholders meeting. And that story is on page 5. Court remands El Rufai bail application hearing for March 31. Son leads supporters to Gajuna Court in show of solidarity. And that story is on page 3. And on health, the last story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, we have meningitis outbreak worsens in northern Nigeria. And that's according to NCDC. And that story is on page 4. Taking some of the inside stories, starting with page 2. Ozora incident. No rape festival among Urhobo, Isoko people. And that's coming from Ibori. Alleged tax evasion. Binance seeks out of court settlement with federal government. Malami condemns invasion of his premises by EFCC operatives. And that story is on page 3. Federal government approves 32 billion naira to health facilities care provision fund for PHC facilities. That story is on page 3. Meningitis outbreak worsens in northern Nigeria. That's according to NCDC. Insurgency. We risk losing Borno northeast to terrorists. Ndume raises alarm. Visit Ngoshe Polka. And that story is on page 4. Our Catholic Church attack. Court asks Defense Counsel to properly guide witnesses while giving testimony. Bobrisky, federal government affirms dismissal of NCOS official over misconduct. Says over 90% of inmates are state offenders. Federal government plans to end donor dependence on TB HIV funding by 2030. And that's according to Pate. Shaun suspends Adeseun as Mayegun of Ogbomosho, and that story is on page 8. Moving on to page 24, we have Entrepreneurship Digest. The architect of ambition, how Funke Akindele is engineering Nigeria's next creative dynasty, and that's on page 24. Why I am committed to redefining business transformation, customer experiences for Nigerian entrepreneurs. And that's according to Ade Olufemi Peters. I'm talking of entrepreneurship and entertainment. On page 26, 5 Oitma officials injured. Vehicles damaged in clash with motorcyclists in Ibadan. Truck crushes 2 persons to death in Ibadan. My brother just named his daughter 3 days ago. Victim's relative cries, 4 die in Ijebu-Ode or a highway accident. Police received 2,000 names of suspected drug dealers in Kano. Task force arraigned 5 Omatakus in Lagos. And all stories are on page 26. And on page 27, Yelwata massacre, ill health stalls trial of suspected terrorists. General Sura resigns from APC, joins ADC. Benga Hashim cautions Wike faction against convention, urges PDP unity. All stories on page 27. 2027 Labour Party zones presidential ticket to South. Stakeholders drum support for Ibadan 4.0 agenda. Why Tinubu will win Southwest by landslide in 2027. That's coming from Reps. And that's all on page 28. Moving on to sports stories. Klopp rubbishes real talk. Trust Ekong plays down Eagles World Cup hope. Thiago, battle with Haaland can help Brazil chances. Cricket, players hail women's T20I tournament. I'll make sure you never pee again. That's also on page 31. NBBF announces international showcase against LA Spark. NFF mourns as NRA president Zubairu dies. And that's all we have on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Over to you, Victor.
Well, I've got the Vanguard right here with me. The first story, Lagos 2027 will succeed Sanwo-Olu. You see more of that on page 13. And of course, the riders, Tinubu may back an aspirant without political structure. Amzat Okunla Ambode Sheyi allows her eye seats as stakeholders wait on president. And of course, on page 12, race to succeed marking day begins. Petrol marketers keep high prices, crude drops. Find that on page 5. On pages 7 and 9, alleged graft, El-Rufai charge, Malami's family evicted from Abuja. And on page 6, IGP names new Lagos CP, Musjimo to Zone 2. Also, we have this one on page 19. Federal government apologizes to Nigerians over poor power supply. And beyond the red carpet, the UK state visit is an investment in Nigeria's future. That's something you'll find on page 18. On page 10, Ozoro Festival of Fertility or Harassment, no rape festival in Isoko Robo, says James Ibori. And on page 26, Presidency battles Ndume over alleged plans by terrorists to overrun Borno and the Northeast. Now let's flip inside the dailies to see more stories. We have on page 4, Shatima, 10 governors, DSP Barao, Speaker Abbas Yilwata storms Zamfara, welcome Governor Lawal to APC. On page 5, petrol, marketers keep high price as crude drops. Retailers should adjust price, says an attendant. Regulators must intervene. Market forces to determine price, says Petron, and transport fares rise by 50%. On page 6, we have a gunman abduct Ekwa pastor in Jos. Panic in Benue community as herdsmen kill farmer, chase residents of farmlands. Widow accuses police land grabbers of killing Lagos businessman. Terrorists kill 2 hunters in Kwara. And on page 7, we have this intriguing story. Protests as ICPC arraigns El-Rufai in Kaduna. Bail hearing fixed for March 31. How DSS operative shunned El-Rufai's wife's request at court entrance. And now to page 8, where federal government targets millions of youth for skill acquisition, rallies global partners. 2027 ADC LP leaders want Southern presidency. And we have APC convention in Tawe. Bashiru, Duru others screened as party plans to reach 90 million Nigerians and open call center. On page 9, cleric who hosted me in Kaduna has been arrested. Peter Obi raises claim. And of course, that's an alarm, says El-Rufai facing political persecution. How Nigeria lost 32 billion naira to flight disruptions in 2025. That's according to a report. And beneath the surface, Ozoro Festival of Fertility or Harassment. There's the claim from Ibori says no rape festival in Isoko Robo. Community and police explain what went wrong. 15 arrested. Leaders deny rape claims. And we have an image of Ozoro women protesting the harassment at the fertility festival. Okay, flipping on to what we have on page 12. Or your governorship poll, Adelabu Folarin Arakpaja orders race to succeed Makinde. Sources say Olubada positioning ex-SSG, Monarch's aid, his visit to Tinubu is not political. And yes, we have this one, Makoko residents of Lagos government. We won't relocate to Agboa. All right, to take a break at this point in time, now return with more stories right here.
Breaking news. The home is under attack, but not for long, because Hypo is here. Dirty floors and surfaces.
Not on our watch.
Every day with Hypo. Dirty and stains, no video shakara. We got the remedy, original palasa. Hypo, go Hypo.
Germs always find a way back.
No green. Protect every day with Hypo.
Hypo, go Hypo.
All right, thank you very much for sticking around with us. We'll still continue with more stories from the Vanguard newspaper on page 14. Nigeria's broadband demand may spike by 2030. That's what we have right here on page 15. We have this one, 2023 poll. Obi shouldn't have contested, says Justice Salami. Wike's camp, fresh convention push puts PDP on brink, Benga Ashim once. 2027, Southern Middle Belt leaders demand zooming in of presidency to South, push for state police and restructuring. And we have more right here on page 19, where the federal government apologizes to Nigerians over poor power supply to improve in 2 weeks. 24/7 electricity requires $100 billion investment. Okay. Federal government unveils national single window, targets 7-day cargo clearance. Nigeria's gas output drops 9% to 212.615 million. And of course, we have more right here on page 21. My parents' marriage puts me off committing to my boyfriend. Okay. Federal government's neglect of Niger Delta ports unjustifiable. That's coming from the DDF. And Brewery approves recruitment of 700 health workers. All of that on page 22, as well as the story by Elsa, the government polls fixed for April 3rd. All right, flipping to what we have on page 26. Tinubu is working hard to end insecurity, says Shetima. And Kwara 2027, Sulaiman banks on experience and reforms. Naira depreciates to 1,405 Naira per dollar parallel market. On page 29, Enugu community pleads with Mba to restore land ownership. SCDC targets $50 million startup fund to unlock Southeast innovation economy. And we have more stories, including this one. Zodima canvasses unified APC messaging at South workshop. All right, so flipping on to the sports page on page 31. Super Eagles open camp in Turkey for Iran Jordan friendlies. Onachu searches for first goal against Gala in Osimhen's absence. Trabzonspor to Suitors. Stay clear, Onachu not for sale. Eagles winger Taylor signs new contract with Leverkusen. And we have NFF months again as referees boss Gilberto dies. Okay, we have this one as well. In WFL, Edo Queens said to sing Ekiti Queens. However, begs Sinobu to add ex-Super Falcons players to reward list. A similar reviews why Chukwueze's sale is inevitable. And Sinner surpasses Djokovic's ATP Masters 10-year record. All right, we have one more story, and that's registration still open for the 11th of Pepe Road Race right there. And that's as much as we can take on the newspaper review segment this morning. Stay locked in right here because we've got more coming.
under attack. But not for long, because Hypo is here. Dirty floors and surfaces.
Not on our watch.
Every day with Hypo. Dirty and stains no fit do us shakara. We got the remedy, original palazza. Hypo, go hypo.
Germs always find a way back.
No green. Protect every day with Hypo.
Super Malt, multivitamin junior.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Yes, it's still AM120. This morning, we will be talking security, looking at what happened in Kwara State earlier this week. Initially, there was a kidnap that happened at an Ekwa church, I think on Sunday. And then on Monday, we heard of an explosion. Of course, it wasn't just in Kwara State. We saw the explosion. It was also in Borno State. So it was like a twin explosion that happened on Monday. But looking at what happened, the incessant attack in Kwara State, we'll be talking about another terror attack on Kwara. Matters are rising. To do justice to this particular conversation, first, we have a legal practitioner and conflict governance expert, Olufemi Adeniton. It's good to have you.
Thank you so very much for having me today.
Looking at what happened in Kwara State, it says a suspected bomb explosion rocked Waro community in Kaima local government area of Kwara State, reportedly claiming several lives and leaving several people injured. We are seeing an incessant attack. Initially, when we started talking about North Central, it was initially from the Governor Mutwang State, then we saw Benue State, and then we saw Kogi State, and now Kwara State. And of course, we know that most of these states shares boundary with Southwest. What exactly are they looking for in Kwara State? Why Kwara, all of a sudden? Is it like a movement down to the Southwest?
So good thinking there. Thanks for having me today. And so, but looking at this holistically, I would like to address it from the angle of the fact that terrorism certainly that's setting the pace. Terrorism generally is a global issue which we happen to be dealing with across the world, right? So the world as it is now is changing and times are changing, and also requires that in Nigeria, being part of the networks of other states, right? We are currently undergoing these kind of challenges. And yes, shortly after, you see even the Sahel region, of course, we noticed that from the Niger and the Chad, the Cameroon, all of that, there has been an infiltration. And of course, the border seems to be very porous. And you see this sect of people, the Boko Haram, the ISWAP guys, they keep growing in their numbers. And one thing is underlining in this context that the government, which is a security apparatus, which is the manager of the state, the custodian of security, seems not to be able to get his hand on deck in order to address the issue, right? So, so a couple of things. One is that there've not been so much progress that we expect, we anticipate. And what do you see? The ripple effect is the filtration across the North Central, which is the Kwara, and as we have seen it, is gradually sliding into the Southwest part of the country. So times are very difficult. These are very difficult periods for us at the moment, and yes, a decisive process might be adopted in order to nip this in the bud. Yeah.
Now, I beg to ask, because this is not the first time that we are seeing that community in Kwara attack.
Yeah.
Is there any reason to this? Is there something we are missing out on? Because the last time it happened, we asked, and we knew that the build-up to that first attack had quite the intrigue to it.
Yeah.
But now we have a story rewritten again with what happened, at the start of this week. Is there a particular reason that maybe the new shape of things will help us understand.
Yeah. So again, Victor, that's a good line of thought here. But the concern there is about issues around underlining drivers of the conflict, right? So if the government is unable to address the drivers of the conflict, obviously it's going to build, right? Because the conflict entrepreneurs would always leverage on those little gaps, and they will feast on it, and it makes it very easy for them to always recruit or strengthen their network and further damage or attack. So what's the reason? There are various schools of thought to really put this in perspective. One, if of course you talk about the ideology, the Islamic ideology in terms of the radical sect, right? Trying to promulgate this and trying to see how they could enforce that kind of doctrine on some certain group of people. We see that in various instances where there are cases where this group of people want to infuse this notion of radical Islamism in terms of to those local communities. It has been repelled, it's been not accepted by some of these communities, and in various instances we find out that there have been concerns where these radical groups now come back and attack those local communities that we've seen in various parts in Kwara. Another would be the issues of human development approach, which must be addressed holistically. Poverty, economic, socio-economic challenges is one of the crises in Nigeria. And we may say we may want to overlook that, but if we don't look at this, address it holistically, people are suffering, people are hungry, there's a hunger in the land, poverty. So, and if you're unable to address that, fix that issue of poverty gap or education, lack of educational gap, you will find out that it's very easy for people to those radical sects to always get new recruits, right? So, and that is one of the issues where the government has actually failed, right? Because we find out that over time, the trend analysis, when you look at the case, right, what happened 2 years ago, what happened 3 years and 5 years ago, the thing has always increased, right? And the attacks have also changed because these terrorists now become more brazen in their attack, and it's now very evident that for those conflict entrepreneurs that is very investment driven. If some group of people tries to twink into terrorism and all of that, and maybe they are getting their rewards for this kind of acts. So without the government making a holistic approach in trying to combat this from the roots, which is the drivers, the cause, the structural reasons why we see that the sprangs of groups coming out and their recruitment process, right? If that's not been addressed, is a problem, right? We also see the aspect of poor intelligence, right, as being the major challenges in Nigeria, and compromise and infiltration and 11th columnists, right? Certain group of people in government, even in security apparatus, who are underpaid, or the governance systems have not been very effective, right? So you find out that those loopholes are what these guys always leveraged on. Because I was having a conversation with one of my very senior military guys, right? And he told me that these guys operate in a very high intelligence, especially the terrorist group, right? And he told me about how various times where they have infiltrations in some of their military base. Sometimes you see them, particularly the ISWAP guys, right? So the concern will be that there's a fallout, or there's a breakage in terms of the governance system, and there's a lack of trust deficit even in those our combatants that are on the front line, right? Because they don't trust in terms of remuneration, poor incentives and all of that. These are one of the reasons why you find that.
You said a lot in terms of the reasons, and let's speak it one after the other now. Good. But I want to start with the later you spoke about in terms of poor intelligence. When we have issues of intelligence like that, and you realize that these terrorists are holding on to information, classified information you really do not expect they would have gotten. Who are those that should be held responsible for such?
So basically the boss stops at the table of the executive, which is the president, which is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, right? So, but you see over time, politics has come into place in various phases of our life, right? And that's why you see that nothing really works in Nigeria, because right from looking at power now, right, we've seen that, I think, right from when we were kids, right, we never had power. So that's a problem that has always been the problem. The government, the leadership, right, beginning from the head, because I don't want to put it from the agencies, right? Because if we get it right from the presidency, right? Because what the buck stops are who's stable, the president of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, right? So that's where we should see decisive leadership in terms of addressing this issue. Take, for instance, that this was to be America, right? The United States of America, and President Trump was the president of Nigeria. Do you think that terrorism would have its way last for more than 72 hours, right? Because the intelligence is lacking in terms of the attitude of the leaders. Those who are the managers of state, who are in the corridors of power, know exactly what to do. They can actually infuse everything the best possible. And you see, when Nigeria is trying to act decisively in its neighboring countries, you see the way they go about it. But now politics is now in everything. It's now security, and they invest a lot of money in terms of addressing security problems, and we don't see the impact, because how do we know that it's working when the trend shows that there is more impact, casualty across board, and it's very sad that the leaders is not really doing what.
So you're saying political will is
lacking. Yes.
Now, this week, today's just Wednesday, by the way.
Yes.
This week we've had incredible stories about these incidents from Jos, to Kwara. Not just once. We've seen Borno, we've seen different parts of the country. Now, I saw one this morning where hunters who were going home carrying the bodies of other hunters who had been killed in a terrorist attack were attacked again. Same Kwara State. Now, these guys, let's say the vigilante groups, the hunters, the forest guards, they have been helping a bit in the fight against insurgents. And now they are being attacked wave after wave. This is them going home to bury the dead amongst them.
That's correct.
And they were attacked again. And it took a joint action of forest guards and others to help them repel the terrorists who came in there. And they said these guys knew them as hunters. They attacked them before, and they came again attacking them. How do we work with these guys? That is the vigilante groups.
Yes, correct.
The forest guards. How do we work with them to ensure that there's better production? Because we have seen the main military being attacked. We have seen the local military being attacked. So how do we, because this, I think, people who are next level to the communities. So how do we work?
Yeah, of course. You see the previous approach, because I like the thought there. The previous approach which the Nigerian state have adopted clearly shows that there's a gap, there's a lacuna there. So how do we work with it? It's because it has to be citizen-driven approach, right? And community-based led security strategy that must be adopted now. Of course, the local vigilantes do have the understanding of the local terrain, and they will be able to give maybe credible information and tell us the nooks and crannies of those axes. And that then would be very effective in terms of military response to addressing it. But I don't just want us to restrict this conversation particularly on addressing it militarily or of course, coordinated approach can also work right effectively. But we've not really looked very holistically on the role of intelligence, and the information technology, the IT, the drones, surveillance measures, which we've talked about in our previous kinds of conversation then. But yes, if we adopt this approach, because the way the world is actually moving now, it's not looking at the war in Iran and Israel, right? Did you see the foot soldiers? They're not even on the boot soldiers are not even there right now. So what they do is they just in their office intelligence, they just configure, and of course they would be able to send in missiles and all of that to those days, right? So as it is now, this is the 21st century, and we expect Nigeria to move within the trends of trying to join these other nations across on how they could use information technology to identify the hotbed of where these terrorists are located and launch an attack on them. If you take the fight to them, the way we are fighting now, sadly it seems like when you are fighting an enemy and you are not given in a timeline. And when you are fighting an enemy and it's not within the ambit of you are trying to bring an end to it, there's a way you fight, right, in terms of taking the fight to the enemy, that you would employ everything, like this is going to end between this period, and you would put everything together to ensure that it brings it to an end. But sadly, Nigerian has not really used that, adopt that.
Why are we holding back in adopting or deploying such techniques?
Yeah, why are we? Because, like I said in my earlier remark, there's a politics in this whole thing, right? From even the security apparatus, right? There are various instances where they said they give information to even those groups of guys who of terrorists who infiltrate this act, right? Even when how can, for instance, an attack take place for 3 hours, 2 hours, and no repellion, no counter defensive measures, and these terrorists will go scot-free? Then you tells you something, right? Because if your house is on fire, and then there should be security apparatus within bases around there, and they are not responding to such swift attack, then it gives us an hint that something is going on.
All right. I want us to move a little from this conversation, talking of governance. But before we do that, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
All right, everyone, no put your ears, make we talk. Time don't reach to rearrange this house to give you a small wisdom. Shots my teeth fresh now, but you know, I beg no be so. Before I go talk, say our smile no reach. Make not think I'm twice so. Ever heard of Colgate, the #1 oral care brand in the world?
Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection unlocks 24 hours cavity defense. The formula boost with calcium for lifelong smiles.
Mom, you can come to brush. No more for my cover mouth.
Colgate for 24 hours maximum cavity protection.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on malaria gone.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Still looking at the incidents that happened in Kwara State earlier this week, and of course, other insecurity, other issues from other states. We also saw another explosion in Borno State. But I want us to look at governance now, just a little digression from what we are talking about, because because it looks like it's intertwined.
Yeah.
When we have governments in place, in power, who are not focused on security of their states.
Yeah.
We have a federal government who is not so much concerned about the security, the safety of the people. But all we keep talking about is 2027 election.
Yeah.
How did we get it wrong? Why is there so much focus on election and not the well-being and safety of the people?
Yeah, so you've said it right, there's a poor gap, and the kind of leaders we have, particularly in this part of the world, of course, because it's sad kind of incident to realize that the normal tenet of the Constitution, which is protection of lives and property, the main core mandate of the government has certainly failed, right? Because come to think of it, take a stockpile of what has been the progress in terms of achievements so far. You see that it's been so bad, right? Especially this present APC government has really brought so much harm in terms of governance to Nigeria, and they have not really get their hands on in terms of governance at all, right? Looking at the security, it has gotten bad, it has gotten even worse, and God knows what's going to happen if this kind of regime continues, right? Because the mandate is supposed to be the protection of lives and property, and if that's not done, then what else, right? So what else is even working in Nigeria, right? I've been to various parts of the world, right? I see things work. Even go to just Rwanda here that fought the genocide, that was in genocide in 1994. the whole country is now transformed. I was in Kenya, I see everywhere all transformed, right? And you come to Nigeria, that's supposed to be the leader of the African countries. And what you see is everything is just in decay. The rules are bad, terrible. You see that power is not working, right? Everything keeps breaking down. National grids keep breaking down. And you ask yourself that, what is really this guy's really doing in position of authority? Or what you do is that they do more of the propaganda and trying to see how they could spin the narrative abroad so that the world will see that we are getting it right. Poverty is increased. And this is the main reason why you see that it's very easy to recruit these guys, right? And it's not actually their fault, because if people who are they don't have access to, they are poor, access to information, education is a big challenge. Someone that is thinking of his next meal and you tell the person not to be in a radical group, well, you have to think about it. Things are very expensive. I was saying somewhere that it costs more even expensive to live in Nigeria than in the West. It's very, very expensive in terms of the cost of food. Yes, the cost of even the basic household essentials is even making it more worse, right? And so even the dignity to life, okay, now then you are not able to provide these basic essentials, then why then aren't you able to at least provide security for the lives and property of the people, right? No, that's even making it more worse, like as if the people is even asking for more rather than you just put everything together. And I tell you something, if this president and the government of the APC want to fix Nigeria, they will. And it's also one of the campaign strategy, right? So that in the next election, they would always say that I will fix this, I will do this, I will do this.
But we keep seeing that every 4 years, campaign comes and then they make promises of the problems we already have in Nigeria. We're already experiencing, in Nigeria. How can we rewrite these issues? How can we... because it also feels like Nigerians are condoning it.
Yeah, that's the trouble with Nigeria. Chimino Achebe said the trouble with Nigeria is the leadership, right? And because a certain group of people are not, they leave this to the hands of some of the mediocres who position themselves in position of authority, you see that everything in Nigeria is virtually bad, right? What are we even talking about? I don't know whether you guys have power in this place today, but again, the kind of leadership we have, right, has also put us in this mess, right? So again, this is going to recycle. Sadly enough, it has to be. It has, because of the circle of leaders we have, we always provide this kind of bad.
Are we going to get
governance.
stuck? Are we going to get stuck on the leaders? Because I've read in some places where people always give different quotes that are, point at a statement being made that the leaders reflect the people.
Yes.
So if we have that, now I would have thought that, at this point in time, people would understand that if we are seeing results like this, if we are seeing insecurity at this rate, we should be holding the leaders accountable.
Yeah.
And before we are able to hold them accountable, we must also self-reflect as a people to understand what areas have we been lacking in.
Yeah.
So what have we been doing wrong as citizens of the country? Because for what it's worth, the way I felt about Nigeria, the way I saw others feel about Nigeria when I was much younger, I think it's the tales I read, and then when I was young, going to school, is different from the way I see people take the country right now.
Yeah.
And that spirit of patriotism is looking very dead.
Yeah, so good. I would agree with you on that in part. But the truth is this is some of the narrative again that those in authority have always tried to feed us with. The truth is that you can't fix any system without a decisive leadership. That's the truth. Take it. Because there's a little you can do from your end. But if you have the right set of people in authority, and those guys, particularly those in the Aso Rock, wants to fix things. Look at even the electoral amendment now we've talked about. Some of the things that the people agitated for, there was a protest, there were everything. Did anything change?
No, but then because we ourselves have not taken a stand. Because, okay, take for example now the elections. Who are we voting in? Who are we clamoring for?
Yeah, but even the electronic transmission in real time, all of that,
because it's the people.
The people, yes, I quite agree with you. But when the people push, the voice of the people push the agitations to the leaders, and the leaders within siphon, of course, you notice even recently there have been this pro-protest, anti-government, and all of that. So when the people even make an agitation, they sponsor. So that's why I talked about the bad set of leaders we've had, right? Until we have a purge of this. In America, even in the UK, let's not even go far. Let's go to various parts of in Europe, right? Even when you have some bad set of people who want to push up certain things, the leaders there is a certain level of decorum across, and that's why you see this system work. I was jokingly telling someone that if we should move Nigeria, the leaders we have now and every 1 year to Europe, and move those guys there to Nigeria, they would mismanage even Europe, right? That's the kind of leaders we have, because everything is about corruption, it's about
so are we talking about structures that will correct that, institutions that should correct that? I think we should be looking at that, because the spate of insecurity shows that our problems are all too encompassing.
Yes, more arms, light weapons come through who? Through the border. Who are those in charge? They are groups of people that, of course, the president must have appointed the Controller General. Of course, the Immigration, the Minister of Interior, who appoints him, is it not the president? These are the people working for him, right? So if he wants to get the thing done, the job done, he would call these guys to order and make a decision. There's no need for politics, right? So if you are interested in fixing the country, what the president should be doing and the government, there should be a more decisive act. Just recently, I think you were listening to the interviews of was it El-Rufai during the course of, I think, Charles Ayigule or so, where he made reference to the fact that they even listen to the calls of those in authority. So that tells you again that there's a lacuna, there's a gap, and these guys have a way of doing things. Okay, the Minister of what's his name now, Abubakar Milami, who is also facing issue around, right? What has also been the case, right? We also saw that there have been most of them, their hands are not clean. And when you talk about issues around this, and you find leaders across the position of authority who are unable to do the right thing, then what you have is this kind of issues going around, and it's easy for us to say it's PDP, it's APC, it's this party, it's all of that. It takes only just one leader in Nigeria to fix everything. If President Tinubu comes to office and says, now enough is enough, it takes him just a one bold decision to say that. And you will see that it's going to flow even across the 36 states, right? But if it comes around and he plays politics and is so much interested in 2027 and he's seeing how he could maneuver and talk to his people, right? Then you see that this kind of problem would always continue to face that.
Should we now start talking about legislations, in terms of leaders making decisive action, taking decisive actions in terms of protecting the lives of people, of citizens?
Sadly, this is the same. This set of people, we have Labour Party, right? Where are the Labour Party representatives now? All of them, most of them are now in the APC, right? So we have this set of people who are entitlement, who don't even have the issue, the core issue of the people at heart. With the PDP, most of them have defected to APC, and now you ask yourself, what is actually happening? And okay, now you are all defected now fix Nigeria. Then you can't even spot out just one thing. Can I ask you a question? What exactly have the government actually gotten right? One thing, that's in one sector that they fixed in the country. You find out that there's virtually nothing right. There's virtually nothing. In my own assessment, even the fuel we have.
In your assessment?
Which assessment are you going to use, right? Because even the petrol.
You just said in your assessment. I'm only backing up your claims.
Even the petrol, you look at it, the prices are very high.
But then that has not them, because now we've seen crude prices have dropped.
It's easy.
And now retailers are failing to drop the prices. And we've seen different bodies, even the petrol owner said, come on, these prices should drop.
Yeah, it's easy for them to always use that narrative and use it. But I tell you, what's the minimum wage in Nigeria? 70,000.
No.
What's the minimum wage? A child of 18 years, his minimum wage in UK is 18 pounds. That's equivalent to, how much is that? Maybe 30,000 or 40,000 thereabout. So are you comparing the price of someone in that client? So that person in the UK, for instance, can even do just 8-hour or 10-hour shifts, right? and it's even earning even what you earn in your salary.
I mean, but we cannot really compare as much as what you are doing because of the this economic situation currently in the country. But looking at the recycled incidents, the recycled problems we're having, looking at back to the insecurity issue now we've been talking about, we've seen that it's not just peculiar to this particular administration alone. We started from 2-3 administrations back, and now we are here. Why is there a recycled issue, of, I mean, I wouldn't really use the word bad leaders. I mean, there's this talk about, the people are representation of their leaders. But before we talk about that, we have a commercial break and we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on Malaria Gone.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. I was talking about leaders being representation of their people, and people talk about, when we have a common man also getting to that particular position, they'll do the same, they'll do worse. And just like I said, this incident, these issues we're talking about is not just peculiar to this administration. In fact, dated back as far back as 10, 15 years ago. Now, why do we keep recycling the same problem over and over in Nigeria? After 4 years, we elect, or after 8 years, we elect new leaders, but we keep talking about the same issue. Why is that so? Yeah, because the structure has enabled this bad set of leaders, because put it in the right word, we have bad set of leaders across the states, the 36 states of Nigeria, and even the president. And the legislature, we have a bad set of leaders who are concerned about their own interests. And this is why, because it's sad, because most of these guys, they go outside the country and they see how things work. And it's sad because you can't continue to keep quiet, because when is it going to get better? It's even getting worse by the day. And that is why you see that this group of guys, these bandits, are even moving now to the West, because everything is about politics, everything is about statements that they give. So the system has always encouraged this group of corrupt leaders. Some of them are even sponsors of this set of radical groups, right? And because we have this set of leaders, they would always put in their structure in place. Remember, even the Minister Wiki is fighting tooth and nail to keep the structure, the supposed structure he's talking about. And that's why you see that they always want to transcend the baton to the next person coming in, so that that person would continue maybe the bad kind of legacy they have left. And this is the same problem that will continue in Nigeria if there is no decisive measures. Of course, it's only in the ballot that we can make this radical change, right? If the people come together and to make, but yes, they are going to silence the voice of the people, because on the day of election, people will be hungry. And yes, because you and I, maybe we can say we are educated in terms of knowing what to do and be able to cure our taste. But what will you say to someone on the streets of or maybe Ojo in Iwo Road who is struggling for his life? I mean, you will be shocked that even some educated people also engage in these acts. Yeah, the educated people do engage in this act, because when you have someone who's a graduate or who have acquired a certain level of education, so they're able to eke a living, the basic human needs is the problem. As I speak to you now, some people may not even have had breakfast or lunch for 3 days, right? So, and they are struggling, and what do you expect? And poverty is a weapon that, remember, the bourgeois, the elites, they use in order to do state capture. They use that, and sadly, what then do you? There's a widening inequality in Nigeria as we speak now. The rich, that's why you could see somebody who's very rich goes in with very expensive cars and big houses, and he subjugates the people, the government. Someone you should be looking after, you subjugate them.
And they are very happy and comfortable doing this. And that's, you could call that maybe a pure form of wickedness, right? And so this set of leaders, because of the entitlement measures, and because our people do have so much preference for materialism, and that's why you see that for over time, the structure have always keep pampering this set of elites. Yes, I don't kind of give them any regards even when I'm on outside, because they are usually, when you see them outside, they are just like common men. But when they are here, they use, because of the poverty gap and all of that, to subjugate the people, and that's why we see the poor kind of leadership.
Victor.
Now, I want us to look at something.
Yeah.
Over years, recently, something took me back in the days, and that's a song, a Christian song that was sung. And it pointed out something which has been trending online. I don't know if you follow.
Okay.
Now, the same has applied to insecurity over time. And it says a lot about our mentality. And I think this is where we have failed as a people. And this is why I'm asking, how do you think we can address it? That song said, even if the price of cement goes up to a certain amount of money, we will still survive. Even if we buy fuel at so amount of
200 naira actually,
it will still be good for me and myself. Now, when the incumbent president was coming in, some people saw signs but said it will favor me and my family. In insecurity, over the years, it happened basically up north in some specific areas. And a lot of people down here said, as long as it's not here, let them be killing themselves there, but it will not touch here. And now it's getting closer to home, because we have reported cases of Kwara. We have seen Ondo.
Yes.
We have seen in Oyo State a couple of triggers, warnings, flashes to us. So we have watched all those things happen, thinking it will not come down here, but it is coming down here. Even the person who sang that song will be bewildered that the situation of things, the food that she thought would not cost this amount has even cost almost times 10 of that. So how do we change this mentality? Because to end insecurity, to end these issues, I'm tired of coming here to speak week after week on terrorist attacks, on insecurity or the actions of insurgents. I'm very tired of that, mentally drained from that. But how do we stop that from happening, given our mentality as a people? Because until we see ourselves for, I said self-reflect the other time, until we start seeing that, I don't think the decisive action of the government alone will correct things. Because there's someone who is selling bread, who is housing and accommodating and giving information to those terrorists in their hideouts.
Yes. Good. Yes. To look at is again in your narration. If you look at the patterns of the way these guys have actually taken this attack, of course, you know that there is this form of coordination from the government apparatus, right? From those in position of authority. And again, I will say, you can't exclude or you can't take away the impulse of those in position of authority in addressing it. Sure. Yes, because there's no way the people, when you're talking about, there are things that you and I can do from our end, but security, how then do we be able to, do you have a gun to protect yourself, unless they want to maybe license guns and have it, everyone have access to arms and ammunition to be able to defend himself. But if you don't have, whose responsibility is it to, that's the basic tenet of the social contract theory, right, of Hobbes, John Locke, right, when everyone surrendered their authority to the state in exchange for security. And you expect that the state, being the custodian of security, should provide, as a matter of necessity, to the people. But here, when the state is unable to do that, so who then do you hold responsible? You still have to call them to order. But if we are able to switch a little bit away from it, that was why I talked about the issue of the non-kinetic approach, which you could also see how you could roll in government plan. There's have a plan of action of the government in order to address this. So the government, for instance, must have its own plan of action. And again, it has to be a very visible timeline. 3 months, 6 months, we are going to address this insecurity in Nigeria. And all the agencies must work in coordination across the citizens and the communities. We are going to do this, and within this timeline, we are going to employ maybe the disarmament, demobilization, and integration program to rehabilitate any group of people who feel aggrieved, and you are going to be given a certain X amount of money to bring in your arms, lay your arms, conditional surrender or unconditional surrender. So that must be in place. The DDR program was done in various African countries where there are small arms and light weapons, right? Nigeria must also adopt a line of action in line with the timeline. So it cannot just be we are fighting the insurgent as if we are doing a conventional warfare. It's not a conventional warfare. It's something that some group of people are infiltrating the national security of the country and it's affecting the citizens, and the government has to employ a strategic plan, and it must not go within a timeline, right? And it must say, like the way it was done in the Liberia, like, okay, this X amount of money, if you have this your guns, because I'm a DDR officer, for instance, certified from the UN, right? So what happened is that you have to ask these guys to return their arms, tell them to return their arms, give them a timeline, give them the safety nets that's available, and it has to be national. It doesn't have to be.
But when we have such action being taken place, you're asking them to drop their arms, give them a certain amount, to probably appease them. Don't you think on the long run, they might still, come back to such acts?
Yeah, that's how we talk about the governance, right?
And how do you engage such people, especially talking of their mindsets now, making them not come back to terrorism?
Okay, good question. How did Rwanda did it during the genocide, during the war they went through? Why have there not been any war again in Rwanda? Why have there not been war again in Liberia, for instance? There are various countries that have gone through series of pockets of crisis, right? And there's always a roll-lamp plan, because there must be an end to this. Otherwise, if there's no end to this and the government does not able to address this, it will get worse. And sadly, you see that we'll get the best mind of Nigeria will have to leave, and then it's going to be a failed country. Yeah, because this is a fragile state as we speak now. People who are not, if I tell you today now you should travel by road to Abuja or to Kaduna, I'm sure that you will not want to go, because this is a fragile state we are already witnessing already. Anything now can happen. Even you sitting in the studio is not safe, because you don't know what next the plan of those guys are, right? So you have to, what we are doing here now is that let's see how the government, we must speak to them because they are listening. We must tell them that if you are going to address this issue, it must not be the way it has always been. It must not be business as usual. You must have a timeline. What is the timeline you are giving us that you address insecurity? The coordinated approach. We have too many departments in Nigeria that it's almost like more of bureaucracy. They are not really actually doing their job. Let the intelligence guys swift into action, coordinate it in real time, have those drone technologies in place to strike those hideouts, then do that in coordination with the non-kinetics and see how you can improve governance. Again, if you don't improve the governance issue of Nigeria, it's still going to go back to the way it is. The government must try to start purging themselves, because I see a lot of big manism and all of that within the government space. People want to go to position of authority, particularly across all the states and even the federation.
When you say the government should start purging themselves, what results should we be expecting to see when that purge starts happening?
When we start happening in terms of fixing the governance, human development approach, because the casualty is much, what we expect to see is a drastic change in terms of the poverty cases will increase, reduce, food will be available. These issues we are facing now of high cost in petrol will reduce drastically. The government should intervene holistically in addressing everything around its governance and the economy. And yes, because everything is intertwined. Remember, systemic theory, whatever happens to the body, the head happens to the whole body. It must be a decisive process where the government must take coordinated action, and it must work in synergy with its various departments.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for actually selling that to us. Yes, we've been speaking with Olufemi Adenitan, Esquire, who is a legal practitioner and conflict governance expert. And yes, we've delved deeply into the conversation around the terror attack on Kwara and the matters arising, rather its preferred solutions, and hopefully someone is picking them up and translating it to the right people. We want to say thank you very much on behalf of the entire production crew.
Thank you, Victor. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right, we'll go on a break now, and then when we return, our second guest will be on seat.
Breaking news. The home is under attack, but not for long, because Hypo is here. Dirty floors and surfaces.
Not on our watch.
Every day with Hypo. Dirty and stains no video shakara. We got the remedy, original plaza. Hypo, go Hypo.
Germs always find a way back.
No green. Protect every day with Hypo.
Hypo go Hypo. Super Malt Multivitamin Junior.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. So we're still talking about the terror attack that happened in Kwara State, and of course, matters arising from the insecurity issues we've been talking about in Nigeria. To do justice again to this conversation, we have Comrade Femi Babalola Obagon, a public affairs analyst. It's good to have you, Comrade.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
And good morning to Nigerians.
We saw what happened in Kwara State on Monday, the explosion. And of course, before that, we also recorded the attack, church attack in Ekwa Church in Kwara State. A few people were abducted. And we've been seeing an incessant attack in Kwara State for the past few weeks. We know that there's been a lot of issues in the North Central. But when we have issues in a neighboring state, before getting to the next state, why has it been so difficult for our Nigerian governors to protect their states from the siege?
What effort do they have to do such a thing? Every other thing that has to do with security in Nigeria relies so much on the federal government. I remember in those days when they formed Amatekun, that, okay, let us have our own Western security here. That will be helping us as far as insecurity is concerned. But do not forget that they were given ding guns. They were not well trained, and all manner of things that has to go with security, they do not have it. I doubt if there is any of them that can use these modern devices. So you will now see that even we have even made the security apparatus to be very central. We have centralized it, and that one is affecting us. Okay, maybe that may be one of the reasons why they said that we should have state police, but I'm coming to that. So the state governors or the state government, they are handicapped because there is nothing they could do to make sure that, see, on paper, they will say they are the chief security of the state, on paper. But in the practical aspect of it, they lack that efficacy. So what are we expecting? We know that they are very, very handicapped. They couldn't do anything. They will only be watching. The only thing for them to do is to engage these local hunters for them to be able to comb the forest and see what they could do. But when it comes to the using of, new technologies, they cannot even go to some other things. Otherwise, they're going to be penalized from the central government. Until we try to decentralize the effort, there's going to be devolution of power in future as far as security is concerned. They will be consuming our people in this manner. At
this point where we have so many people being killed on a daily basis, should we not be talking about decentralization now in terms of power, security apparatus, giving state governors that autonomy to be able to command and give instructions when necessary to security operatives?
Perhaps that may be one of the reasons that informs impression of the state government that, okay, let's talk to the federal if we can have our own state police. If you have your state police, we believe that perhaps they should be able to go ahead to fix some things that needed to be fixed. You understand? That may be one of the reasons that informs the impression. Then number two, you say, shouldn't we be talking about having such a thing in the state? At least at present, looking at the prevailing circumstances in the nation. Yeah, we have been talking about it. It's another thing for you to talk. It's another thing for them to take action. You understand? So until they take action, all our talks will be another thing entirely, quote and unquote. So for now we are talking. Let's see what they are going to do.
Victor.
Quite an interesting submission right there from you. Comrade, let's look at this in a different light now. We've seen narratives, and we've seen a lot of people, like you just mentioned, a lot of people questioning political will. Is there a reason why they are still stuck on this? Because we have been talking about it for years, for decades. Is there a particular reason that's made them keep acting this way? Because we can talk about political will all we want, but we have seen different sets of leaders, different political parties, people from different backgrounds coming to lead us, and yet the same problems, political will. Is there something we are missing?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe this one is very much around in the world. They call his name Fidelis Castro of Cuba. I remember during the 1961 Cuba Missile Crisis between US, Russia, and Cuba itself, when they want to plant their missile in Cuba. Do not forget that Cuba happens to be a communist country, while Russia the same thing. So that they are looking for a way that if they could come together, they'll be able to face America. So I remember him today. He even said something which I like. He said, we may not have God on our side, but we have sophisticated weapons on our side. That's Fidelis Castro. He now said the thing. He said, in the fight for freedom, equality, and justice, nobody, underline that word, nobody, including my mother, nobody, and you, nobody, and you, nobody, and me, nobody, government, nobody should be an onlooker. For every onlooker is either a traitor or a betrayer. That's where I'm going. A man called Gumi said something sometimes ago. He said that even the government of Nigeria, they know those who are perpetrating evils. They know their names, they know their addresses, they know where they live, they know everything about them, but no political will to arrest them.
It's not just application to Gumi alone. We have state governors who have come out to say, we know them.
Several!
Yes.
God bless you. I'm even coming to that. The same man said it, that they know this, they know that, they know this. And at the end of the day, they couldn't arrest them. Why? Politics. The authoritative allocation of values. According to David, this thing. How are you going to arrest them? They do not have that will to do so because they are looking for second term. They won't be able to do that because not only the second term, what about the past administrations? The man who brought this issue to Nigeria was Buhari. And how do I mean it? You caught somebody, he killed the father, he killed the mother and the children. The next thing you are going to say is that he has repented within 2 weeks. Let us integrate them back into the society because they are now a renewed soul. I don't know how you measure that. And at the end of the day, these are the people that are still more killing people. They broke Kuje prison. Till date, we couldn't apprehend any of them. They have run away. So you will see that it is the voice of Esau, but the hand is that of Jacob. Meaning that if all of us come together and we are shouting, and the government is helping them to foment trouble, what are we going to do? Have you noticed and underlined that the present problem we have in Nigeria as far as insecurity is concerned, it boils from Mr. Government, whether national, subnationals. These are the people that are behind whatever issue that we have in Nigeria as far as insecurity is concerned. And until we grab it the way we're supposed to grab, and we will soon grab it. It's just a matter of time. You will see.
So what do we need to do to grab it?
Are you talking of we?
We.
Human,
because
you are a human being.
Well, I'm saying we because
citizens.
We are citizens. We reflect who is up top, somehow, some way. Now, when we say that, and we have seen our leaders, and we know what is pinching us inside our bodies, we can activate processes that will hasten that grabbing it period, don't you think?
I think I want to agree, no, but not in total. I still want to defeat on the way. And this is it. You said a word. There's a cliche that we commonly use in Nigeria, which I do not support. They are the product of our society. Because we are the one that we voted them. And then they are represented. They come from us. And then they are the replica of what society is. No, sir. What's the name of this man from Russia? I will sooner or later remember. I will remember his name now. Is it Vladimir Putin? I think it's Putin. He took a cock, hen, as a nadire. He took a hen and he plucked the feathers. And he dropped it. You know this kind of food that the chicken used to, and he started dropping it as he was going. That thing, in irritating pain, excruciating pain, the chicken was running after him as he was dropping the food. He now said, when you see this chicken, these are the replica of our people. I am a politician. That by the time I victimize you and I drop little food for you, what are you going to do? You still run back to me. They are not from this world. They are not part of us. They are using mundane things to draw our attention. It is not that they don't want to go, but they have touched our brain to the extent that we cannot think again. And that is the more reason the little impetus given to us, we will quickly grab it and say, oh, this guy is good. No, that is not our replica. That is not who we are. There was a time we raised a question in class, and we said that is he a true replica of an ideal man? Then we tried to analyze and look at the man from different angles. And everybody came out with their submission. How do I go to grab such a thing? No, they will sooner or later, they will come to us. Anytime from June now, they will come to us. They will be coming to beg for food and what have you. You understand? That is when I think we can say whatever we want to say louder. Now, this is my point. A governor came out and he told Nigerian citizens that government knows those who are perpetrating evils. They know the address, they know their name. A government, Zamfara State Governor. I have not seen DSS questioning him or interrogating him. Imagine he's a commoner. What is going to happen? This is what exactly I was saying. In 1963, a man called Castle Fairbanks, he wrote a book in 1956. He called it The Law Benders. And by the time they want to bring the book back to Nigeria, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe said, no, we don't want that kind of, because we believe that there is nothing that is above the rule of law. And that there is not, what is in that book? They said that there are certain personalities in every nation that the law will never question. He said, no, not in Nigeria. That we have never had such a thing because we believe in rule of law. And we know, you smile, because you know we are deceiving ourselves. Is it not operating now? Somebody came out, live television, telling you that government knows those who are perpetrating evil and nobody could question him. A time is coming that those who think they have that power, they are juggernaut of power, that they are sleeping in the corridors of power, we will question them.
When we begin to politicize security matters.
Exactly.
What is supposed to be the next step? What should the people do, or how can the people come in? If it's possible.
Thank you. I will come to that. But let me go this way. In international relations, we call something military-industrial complexes. And this is it. You are manufacturing guns and so many other things. Are you getting me now? You are manufacturing that. But whatever things that he produces, you are gaining from it. You know, you wouldn't want a situation when it's going to stop that thing. There was a video I watched when a woman said, our husband, they have gone into another level now. They are kidnapping people. And the proceed is helping us. That's why we are no longer selling furade, no. We are now selling cloth. Can you imagine? Under that military industrial complex, there are people that are feeding fat on what you are doing that you know is antithetical to humanity. But because of the fact that they are feeding fat on that, they wouldn't question. So what am I saying? Now, look at Katsina governor. He brought so many people and they said they are Boko Harams, they are ISIS, they are ISWAP. And he said, but by now we are going to release them because of the fact that they have repented. This happened just last year. Inside that, Mr. Governor was sitting down with all these terrorists and bandits. And, you know, we discovered that, how do you get your people? Look at the way government is helping them. Apart from that, how do you get your people that have been kidnapped? Say, they pay ransom in billions. And you are saying, you know, it's a lucrative business now. And you are saying that somebody should stop it. Are government not being, are they not being, taking their own lot from what is happening? They are doing that. Otherwise, if they have been negatively affected, they would never support the idea of integration of those people that have been upheld, that they should come into our society.
Should we even be talking about integration in the first place, where we have people being killed?
Thank you.
What exactly is the government, or what was their initial motive behind such acts?
May I tell you something? From what we are saying, if government is not in support of what is happening in Nigeria, it won't fester to this extent. But because of the fact that they look back and they see that these are the juggernaut of power behind us, why don't we go forward and be fomenting trouble that we are doing?
And this brings me back to the question I asked earlier. Now, when we have politics being played with security, lives of the people, what should the people do? Is there an escape route for us in Nigeria in terms of insecurity? And let's also not forget that this has gone beyond the walls of Nigeria now.
Thank you.
We now have international terrorism affiliation with the ones in Nigeria.
Thank you. In my class in those days, I think I was a sophomore in university, and that was when they were teaching us the dynamics of Middle East. And that is where I got to realize that the central issue we have in the world today comes from the Middle East. Do not tell me that Iraq, Iran, all of them that are in the Middle East, they do not know about ISWAP, the ISIS, the Al-Qaeda, the Boko Haram, and the rest. Now, the issue of insecurity in Nigeria has gone to an international dimension, and I will prove myself. Nigeria has a lot of mineral resources being embedded here. And many of the nations over there, they have interest in our resources, and they know we do not have the technology to tap it. So they are coming en masse to come and do that. Now look at it. By the time they come, if they come legally, Nigeria will collect their own proceeds for them by way of tax or what I feel. That before you can tap into our resources, these are the things that we are going to get from you. And these people, they are so brainless. You understand? Let me use that word. They now look at it, okay, what can we do? If we foment trouble here, and we try to use these local people, at least they will give us free of charge. If Nigerians say we should be taking 25%, by the time we foment trouble and we do all this manner of things, we'll be getting 50%. What are we going to do? It's that the same thing that happens over when they capture our forefathers through colonialism. What did they do? They brought gun. They gave it to a black. Fight your people. Then they are collecting the spoils. The same system. They know that those people, they don't have brain. They didn't go to school. They hate education and all manner of things. And they try to lecture them through their whatever. It could be their tribe or religion. You know, when they want to sniff life out of any individual in Africa here, they will introduce religion to you. They introduce religion, and then they try to teach them what they're supposed not to do. And with some injunctions, they back it up with certain injunctions. That if you can do this, what is going to be your profit in heaven, the heaven that they have never been to. And then, because of the fact that they are not Berean individuals, they couldn't sit down and think about it. That, okay, what they told us that we are going to get, has anybody gone over there and tell us that they are getting the same thing? Education helps. Because of their ignorance, they invested in them that cause trouble in your area for us to be able to get whatever we want to get our minerals and then start killing yourself. You understand? How are we going to get out of this? Until we regionalize Nigeria. Let A be A, let B be B. Until we go back to the First Republic and we're trying to restructure Nigeria so that I will identify, okay, your name is Grace. I will remove that Grace. Your name is Nike. Why I am Femi. You understand? We have to understand first historical and cultural background, where we come from. Stay where you day your day. I always say day your day. You understand? So when you stay where you are, I stay where I am. We need to identify ourselves first of all. Then number two, if you want to trade with me, you are going to live by my agreement, by the terms of agreement. If you fail to do that, then you stay where you are until we try to do that. My sister, we will continue this trend. And I tell you that very, very soon it will happen.
But do you think with the trajectory of Nigeria right now, I know you just said very soon it will happen, but with the trajectory of Nigeria and how things are going,
the countries we are indebted to.
Do you see that really happening?
I will still repeat myself. I say very, very soon. And I know where I'm coming from.
And how do you think the implementation of that would be done?
Oh, it's so very easy. We just go back to 1963 Constitution that empowers every region to stay on our own. It's a very simple thing. That's why under Buhari, you see people mentioning 1963 Constitution. That's where we started from until the military came and they distorted all our facts. What am I saying? Very, very soon. Because I know that the man's are the aims of affair. That has been number one thing that is thinking towards. And if you look at it, I will give you one idea that will make you to understand that Honestly, it's like we have done it. It's only to give it a name. We have Southwestern Commission, Development Commission, Eastern Development Commission. We have the Northeast we have 6 Development Commission. What is that? That's a way to regionalism.
So are we looking at a restructure in our constitution also? Are we looking at another constitution coming up or an amendment to the current constitution
Thank
we
you.
are currently
That is
using?
the word, amendment. And how do I mean it? By the time we cast our vote by the grace of God next year, and all of us came back together and the National Assembly is there, it won't take them time before they... I told somebody, I said, this may be the last united Nigeria. I'm not saying we are going in a different way, but we will weaken the center.
Now, weakening the center, are we ready for the ripple effects? Because like it as we may, there are advantages to it, like you've painted, but there are also disadvantages. And if there's one thing we have always, fallen victim of, is the fact that our country, we never prepare, we never brace up for consequences.
Let me put this...
Especially the economic aspects of it.
Sis, there's nothing in the economy. My sister, you can't stand alone. I cannot stand alone. We need each other.
Sure.
In the Southwest, we know what we have. In over there, they know what they have. Honestly, there's no trouble, there's no issue, there's no problem as far as we are concerned. We need each other. Even look at the nations of the world. As big and as powerful as America is, it still depends on some other nation for other things. It's very simple. Then number 2, we are not fighting. So don't let us talk of consequences or we are going to face the music in future. Nothing of such. The reason is that the Northern Emirates or whatever name that they are giving themselves or they are going to give themselves, they will be there. We are going to be there.